Good morning, everybody. Sarah Winstead here, bikini athlete and coach for Pro Physique. And it is Wednesday, and it is my upper body day today. And so we are outside Crunch. It's about 4:52, so we're waiting for Crunch to open in my car. Yay, love kicking off videos in my car. I'm either in my car or I'm at my desk. Not terribly a lot of variation there, but today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating for you guys and going through some warm-ups. And so I find that when I do take on new clients, or if I have and run into clients or people that are just coming back to the gym, or if they've found that, maybe like having trouble activating certain muscle groups, for me, glutes, for sure. That has been, a lagging body part for me, something that is definitely underactive for me genetically. And obviously with my background as a swimmer and a gymnast, I really didn't use my glutes all that much. So the warm up, the importance of that, I'm going to go over in this video, demonstrate for you today, upper body, and then tomorrow, lower body, on some ideas. Now, you don't have to take this and do it exactly, but today you'll probably see a lot of shoulder warm up here in conjunction with some back as well. And so that's more so what I am focusing on. I do obviously have ideas that I'll probably add in some chest stuff as well. But warm up is very important. Don't neglect it. Sometimes we're in a big rush to get in the gym and get out. Warming up the muscles, especially if you're like me, you train at the 5 a.m. in the morning or earlier. Some of my clients even train earlier than that. The importance of a solid warm up and a dynamic warm up, which means that we are moving the muscle around the joint in an appropriate range of motion. It's not static stretching. That has a place. That's more so at the end of your workout when the muscles are already warm. But a cold muscle needs more dynamic stretching, dynamic movements to start the workout. So you'll notice that I'm doing a lot of easy body weight, band work, lightweight stuff to warm up the muscle groups, to make sure that I have things like proper mind-muscle connection. I actually feel the muscles working when I'm in my actual training session. That's very important, that mind-muscle connection. You hear me talk about it a lot. Also, injury prevention. A cold muscle is a very unhappy, tense, tight muscle, which is a little bit more prone to injury than something that is a little bit warmer, has a little more blood flow and stuff like that as well. And so I'm definitely about injury prevention. And I also find too that a lot of my clients that do a proper warm up tend to have some better form in their lifts. And so those are probably my top 3 benefits. And so and like I said, the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from this has definitely been in my glute training. Sorry, someone just pulled in next to me, is looking at me filming for YouTube, and I don't care. I give a lot less fucks in prep. So anyways, but for me, glute activation has always been a thing that I had struggled with, and mind-muscle connection, feeling my glutes in my training. And honestly, a lot of my clients struggle with this too. Why? Because we sit on our butts all day and it's not active. And so taking through a solid warm-up that's going to get the muscle warm, get it going, get the squeeze going, that's really helped me, honestly, in my journey to build more glute density over time in my bodybuilding journey. So let's dive in to today, upper body day, and then tomorrow will be lower body day, and we'll have some fun with some good warm-ups.
First things first, banded pass-throughs. You can do this with a band, a jump rope, a PVC pipe, anything that is nice and flat that you can see yourself rotating through a full range of motion. Now, I have decent shoulders as far as my mobility in them. Just go as far as you can forwards and especially backwards. You can progress on this and increasing your overall mobility in your rotator cuff and things like that as well by being able to go further back. Now, being a swimmer, I have decent mobility in my shoulders and my back just from my years of doing that. Next one is going to be band pull-aparts. Now I'm going to demonstrate this from the front and from the side. This is working on rear delt. You'll notice with all of these movements that I'm doing for shoulders, I'm standing up straight. My core is braced. I'm not sucking in. I'm standing up nice and tall. My chest is out. I have amplitude. I'm not hunched forward. Posture matters, guys. Next thing is going to be external rotations. I add a slight internal one later on, but I like external rotations first for, again, all the spinatuses that are back there behind your shoulders, as well as rotator cuff. It's a fantastic movement to do. You can also do this if you loop a handle band around a stationary object. You can do internal and external rotations that way as well. Next, I'm going to pick up dumbbells. Again, you can do this body weight or with dumbbells if you want to. These are called 90-90s. Now, again, I have decent range of motion with my shoulder, and so you may not be able to go all the way down, but go as far down as you can and come back up again. The goal here is not to have a ton of like body English, but it's more so about, again, movement and blood flow. We're not trying to hit PRs with this. Then I'll do kind of internal and external rotations with dumbbells because, again, I'm trying to keep my shoulders safe and prevent the injury here. I really like the balance that I create when I do both internal and external rotations. I've been very lucky in the fact that I haven't had any shoulder injuries over the years. And next, I'm going to be moving into some dumbbell lateral raises. Now, I'm very picky about these with my clients. Do not swing the weight. Do not hunch forward. It's going to activate more traps. We don't want that. We want the lateral medial delts to be activated. And so thinking about elbows and pinkies going out first, then lifting up. And then I'll go into some neck rolls here as well, just warming up that area as well, just making sure that everything is feeling good. Getting a couple cricks out of your neck is very useful as well. And it also helps to activate a little bit of traps too. Overhead press is next. So again, I am standing up nice and tall, making sure my core is braced here, and I'm just getting the movement in and getting the blood flow in. It's just important to simulate and warm up. I still do warm up sets from all of my exercises, but it's important to simulate the movement with proper form in your warm ups. Next one's going to be dumbbell front raises. This is also a good activator for chest. You can also cross over if you want to hit more of your chest rather than just your front delt here. But for me, that's my goal, is shoulders. So I'm doing front raises here. You can also do this with a plate as well. Can be very useful. Last one, I'm going to do a variation of rear delt raises. I realize that my head is not in line with my body here. And then I'm going to switch over in a moment here to reverse flies. This also helps warm up rear delts and upper back as well. But I'll go into my back movement here next. But that takes care of upper body, shoulders, a little bit of chest, a little bit of back. Moving along to the rest of my back warm up, scap retractions. Now this is big for anyone that has pull-up goals or may not feel their lats and things like lat pull downs. Pull the shoulders and shoulder blades back and down like you're trying to shove them in your back pocket. This really activates a lot of things, and also it can be very helpful in your pull-up prep to do this from a dead hang as well. It's very, very good for activating those lats. Switching gears to lower body. The first thing that I'm do personally is going to be knee raises to strengthen my hip flexors. My hip flexors are tight, but they're also a little bit underactive as well. And this helps me honestly a ton with my hip pain that I've been experiencing over the years. And it also helps kind of get some blood flow to the area as well as my cardio increases in prep. It's honestly been a game changer for me personally. So not all of my clients do this, but it can be helpful for hip flexor strengthening. All right, into the meat and potatoes of my glute and hamstring warm up. I like the malasana, kind of sitting into my hips, making sure my hips are mobile, they're moving. I like adding in the rotations here as well for thoracic warm up. It's extremely important for me that my hips are warm, that everything is nice and open, because for me, I've definitely seen in my clients as well that tight hips, definitely not happy hips, and definitely can result in less glute activation than what we want to see in our training sessions. So getting a little warm here, so we're taking off the hoodie. Next thing's going to be some hip cars. Love these forwards and backwards on both sides. Again, warming up that hip complex, a bunch of small little muscles and tendons in there that we've got to get firing in order to activate our glutes as well. I love these. They've been fantastic for me. It also is good as well for a little bit of low back mobility too. So I really, really like these a lot. And I do about 10 or so each side. Doing a little less here because I am filming this, but I do 2 complete warm-up circuits of both upper body and lower body. Moving on, about ready to do some elevated glute bridges. Oops, no, wait, we're going into 90-90s. Never mind. I do 90-90s a little bit differently than some people may be doing them because I like, again, more movement, more dynamicness in them too. So I may sit into my hips, stretch the glutes out a little bit too, sit into the opposite hip, move around a bunch and not make this a static stretch. I like putting this into more of a dynamic mobility work for myself. And again, I'm trying to open up the hips, open up the glutes, and just get everything firing and get everything nice and warm. Again, we got to do it on both sides. I start with, honestly, my weaker side. That way I activate that one first. I kind of do the amount of reps that I need to, and then I go sit on the other side. And this is also based on feel. I may just like tweak this slightly based upon how I'm feeling that day because, as we know, when we get into contest prep, recovery does start to wane, especially when we get lower in calories, higher in cardio. Our body just doesn't have enough fuel to recover as well as we want to. So this is also why mobility work and your warm-ups become even more important. The deeper you get in prep, the deeper you get into a fat loss phase. So now we're going into elevated glute bridges. And so for here, I like pushing against a box or a bench. I don't like putting my entire foot up there. I like focusing on my heels. Your power always comes from your heels with every single leg, lower body movement that you might be doing, including your glutes. So I'm doing the glute bridges. I'm trying to squeeze everything on the way up and on the way down. I think it's very important to focus on the eccentric as well when we're doing body weight stuff. You notice I'm going decently slow to make sure that I am activating glute max, glute med, glute min, all the wonderful things to make sure that everything is nice and firing. This is one of my favorite, honestly, glute warm-up exercises that I've found. Rather than doing conventional, I do warm-up sets, obviously, for hip thrusts on the machine, but I find that these glute bridges really try to get things firing. Adding more fuel to the fire is going to be single legs. Again, I try to lift the non-working leg high enough to where I get a decent range of motion on both sides, and I try to match the reps from my weaker side first, and then I go to my stronger side and match the reps there. That way my glutes remain balanced, and that way that there's not like one glute that's taking over more so than another one. So that's kind of my goal with the glute bridges. Again, it's probably my favorite glute exercise to start with. I really feel glute max working on this one too, which is obviously the biggest of the 3 on your glutes. And so then I'll even do an isometric hold at the end where I'm really thinking about tucking my pelvis, squeezing kind of like there's a quarter in between your butt cheeks. That's also another cue that I give for clients to squeeze all the way here at the top to get full hip extension. But yes, love me some glute bridges. And then we're going to go into some kickbacks with a band. So I do these 2 variations 2 ways. So I go straight back for about 15 or so. Sometimes I hold on to something to create more balance, but also it could be a challenge to your core and your balance. Again, proprioception is a good thing. How you're moving in space is a good thing to strengthen that core and strengthen that balance and stability, especially as we get a little bit older. But I'll do these straight back first, hanging on to something or not, making sure my heel stays back and my toes stay down when I'm doing this. And then I do like the side ones as well for more of that glute med. I found too that as my hip flexors become more range of motion in them, and as they become stronger, I'm able to do this one even better. And so again, kind of a thing that I found myself that works well for me. It's not for everybody, but give it a try and see if it works for you. All right, once we are done with these, we are almost done with the glute activation circuit. I know, guys, it's a long time, but I promise you, it is definitely worth it to go through this and take the time to activate everything. But try it out, see what works for you. Last one, RDLs. I like this for obviously lower glute and hamstring activation, making sure again the weight is in your heels. Do this with a kettlebell or some dumbbells. Shins stay vertical, push your butt back like you're closing a door with your butt. Eyes travel down with you to create a nice neutral spine the entire way. And then that is the last exercise that I do for my glute warm-up circuit.
All right, guys, so those were my upper body and lower body day warm-ups, specifically for my own purposes. Obviously, I mentioned at the beginning of this video too, you can do things like warm-up exercises for chest. That's when I recommend something like floor flies with like dumbbells, or like on a bench with some dumbbells as well. Something like that could be very useful, or even like wrapping bands with handles around like a vertical structure and then doing some chest flies that way. That could be a good warm-up for chest. Push-ups as well, like inverted or flat. That can be a good warm-up for chest as well. And then something for like quads. Obviously, I don't train quads right now for my purposes in bikini, but that would be something like body weight squats. You can even do like walking lunges with no weight, or even side lunges as well. Don't forget, don't just move like forwards and backwards, especially when training legs. Think about side to side as well. We need to be dynamic in our movements. And so warm up, as I mentioned before, is extremely, extremely important to your overall training program and training plan, because it can help activate the muscles, especially first thing in the morning. And especially if you have an area in which you're really trying to grow and in which you may not be feeling the muscles working as much in your current training protocol. So if that's you, give these a try. Again, a lot of my clients are, lifestyle clients or bikini competitors and things like that as well, or fit model that are trying to grow an area like their glutes. And so I find that those hip and glute exercises and mobility works and dynamic stretching, things that I've added into the warm-up routine, they've helped them. They've kind of picked and kind of put together and puzzle piece together their own warm-up routine, which I think can be very, very helpful over time if you kind of develop your own and kind of find, again, what works for you. This routine works for me, and I also recommend a similar routine for my clients to kind of go through and move through and then kind of pick and choose what works best for them, and devoting that short amount of time. You saw, like, it's not that much time. I do 2 circuits of the upper body and 2 rounds of the lower body before I start my training session. So it's literally like 10 minutes that I spend doing this warm-up routine. And even if you do train later on in the day as well, like we're sitting, we're sedentary and stuff like that. And even like some of my shift workers, my waitresses or my nurses and stuff like that as well, even though you might be still on your feet, you still might need a solid warm-up to, again, kind of just like refocus your brain on firing the certain muscle groups for that day. It gets blood flow going. Like, remember, a warm muscle is a happy muscle. And you can do static stretching at the end of your training routine. If you have some extra time, if you want to increase things like range of motion and mobility work, I'm definitely all for that as well. And even incorporating, like my husband does yoga. I've done yoga a few times as well. Yoga, Pilates as well can be useful in, mobility work, recovery work as well too. So don't be afraid of those things either, because again, it's all about finding what works for you and crafting a plan that works for you, that you see progress in, that helps you feel the muscles working through the proper range of motion with good form. And then, of course, building the muscle mass and the density that you want to see, that shape, that tone, in whatever areas you're trying to work on. So if you have any questions for me, like, comment, subscribe, all those kinds of things below for my YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and get back to client check-ins, but if you guys have any questions for me, leave them in the comment section below. I think the next video might be more of a prep update as far as like kind of where we're trending, because we might be in single digits as far as like my first show of the season. And so we're still kind of, waiting to see how my body responds. But so far I'm very happy with my progress, and I'm excited to share that with you, most likely in the next video or definitely in the following one. But yeah, comment questions or any topics that you want to see for this prep. I'm going to try to include some posing as well in the next video, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.